trigger word, I leave you standing see-through. I'm known to catch wreck. He do. I'm planning my next steps. Defeat you. If you ain't heard, I'm that. Sequel. Award-winning, magnificent, ain't no one that's my equal. Prequel, I'm the lethal, some say unbelievable. Who? Rich Bees, he make it do what it do. Who knew? Album 2, in my mind I chose to deliver to you. On your porch, kick the box like UPS do. I ain't through with this dose of truth. One too many ain't shoot. Why would I choose to inform you? I'm letting loose 59 milli, pot of stove, I'm cooking goose.
Guess what? You know who it is, you know what it is. It's Rich Bees back again. And listen, today, you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? You see it in the title. I'm talking about business ownership. That's what we're talking about today. Now, in that conversation, right? What we're talking about and what we're trying to do is to empower you guys, right? I got a lot going on today. Mad busy. Got things that I got to make sure that I take care of. But long story short, we're going to get into this business ownership because that's the type of stuff that I have to get into, right? So before we get started, you know how I do. You know what I say. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Come and follow your mans, The Real Rich Bees, on all of those social medias right there. So that way you can see the live on YouTube. You can see the live on TikTok. You can see, that's TikTok, on Twitch. But on TikTok, you can see some of the clips. You can see clips on all of them. But still, all I'm saying is come follow your boy. If you look at the follower goal down here, I'm trying to get to 30 right now on Twitch. So head over to Twitch, follow me so that number can go up. Hopefully we can get that up today, hit that goal, because the whole point is to create this community. And in doing so, head over there to richbees.com/links so you can join the Discord. All right. Want to knock that out from the gate so that way we can keep it moving, because today we're talking business ownership and it can be a lot. Okay. There's a lot going on with it. And the thing about it is, when you own a business, there's just so many things that can stress you out. So many things that can stress you out. So this might be a pretty long conversation, okay? I don't really want it to be a dialogue. I really want you guys to hit me in the chat. And so if you head over here on this side, you'll be able to get into the chat. On YouTube, you should be able to get into the chat really easy. On Twitch, you got to follow, right? You got to follow to get into the chat. All right. So do that. We can get back to the conversation because as I'm sitting here, this is what made me have that topic. Let's give it a little backstory, right? So I get up today knowing full well I got stuff to do. Knowing full well I got a lot of things I gotta get done. I gotta reach a couple goals. And so you know, a lot of times when I'm streaming, I am streaming and working. That's what I do. I stream and work because when I'm working, I'm gonna be talking anyway, right? Like people say don't talk to yourself. Well, I talk to myself all the time, right? As I'm talking to myself though, what I'm doing is processing back what I hear so that way I can solve my own issues, right? It's almost like, you know how AI checks on itself? Like it'll give you an answer or it'll create an answer. It might not even show it to you, but a lot of times it does it in the background. But it'll answer the question and then it will recheck itself to see if that's a good answer. If not, it'll start having a conversation back and forth. Maybe we can do a blah, blah, blah. Maybe we can do this, blah, 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 right? And it goes back and forth. And then it figures out, okay, well, based on all that I've been able to um, go back and forth with myself about, here's the answer I feel like is the best one to answer the question. It might reach out to the internet to find some answers out, come back and say, I don't think that's really answers the question. And then it'll go look at something else and it'll start putting information against itself. So I kind of do the same thing. I think that's really and truly the thought process as you are solving problems, right? And so the reason why I'm talking about business today is because, let me get a sip of my tea. Is because it's a great way to solve problems. In business, that's really all you're doing. You're solving problems. You're a problem solver, right? When you own the business. At first, you feel all hype about it, right? You feel all hype about it. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and this is gonna, help me bring in more money, and this is gonna, allow me a little more freedom, or this is gonna, put me in a better place. It's gonna allow me to help someone else, right? But the whole point of owning a business, and I don't know whether people told you this, but the whole point in owning a business is to solve problems, right? If you own a company, the only way you're going to make money is if you solve a problem. Sometimes that problem can be recreational. Sometimes that problem can be um, understandings. Sometimes that problem can be um, allowing somebody to get something that helps their life, right? So you solve a problem by, let's just say, somebody created a straw. I personally can't tell you why they created a straw, but it fits a lot of use cases, right? If I've hurt my mouth and I'm trying to drink something, straw, right? Um, if I don't want to put my mouth on the glass, straw. If um, I want to taste somebody else's drink, which is the same thing of not wanting to put my mouth on the glass, straw, right? So, and I'm pretty sure you can probably get in the chat, tell me some use cases of reasons why they might have created a straw. But the point is, it solves a problem, right? And the problem might vary in the way that it forms out. But this one little plastic cylindrical item allows you to drink when you could just put your mouth on the cup. You could just lean it up in the air and drink it. You know what I'm saying? But somebody created a straw. Broom, right? These are average everyday items, but they still solve a problem. Now, think about other items. It doesn't really matter what the item is. It's there to solve a problem. You can always figure out a use case for something that exists. And if you see something that exists that you can't figure out a use case for, most people won't buy it. It probably doesn't sell. It's probably not out on the market. You'll probably never see it. Or it came out and then it quickly disappeared because there was no use case for that thing. Sometimes something is created and the use case is not found out for years, right? Because something else had to come into effect for that thing to solve a problem. So some people solve problems that don't exist yet, or some people will solve a problem, or excuse me, make a problem and create the solution for it. That happens a lot. That happens more times than you could probably guess. That people will end up creating a problem because they already have the solution for it. And that is, I'm not going to say it's weird, but I will say that it's something that it's like a gotcha, right? And I think that's kind of how FOMO works, right? Fear of missing out. Like FOMO is kind of like that. It's a problem that doesn't exist for you. Somebody else is doing it, and so because they're doing it, you don't want to miss out on that. So you end up getting that thing too, right? That kind of happened when it comes to electric cars. So many people started getting electric cars, because for them, it solved the problem. They were like, "Ooh, I love this type of thing, right? I don't like to go pump gas. I want to be able to, I don't really go many places. I go to work, I come back home, I might go to the store, I come back home. And so, me being able to not have to stop at anybody's gas station, I can just, go to work, come home, plug it in. I'm good to go next time I need to go out. I don't really travel, more than you know, 200 miles or so in a day, right? Never. Electric car solves that problem, right? It solves that use case. But other people saw that everybody had electric cars, saw how fast they went, saw how, the response felt, saw like all of these videos about, ooh, Teslas, ooh, this electric car, ooh, this electric car. And it was like, you know what? I'm going to get one too. However, their use case was not of that. Their use case was they did a lot of long driving, or they stayed in their car a lot. Maybe they they like to hang out and always be on the move. That might not fit that use case much. If you're a person that travels across country a lot, or pretty reasonably, say you live in a different state than your family and you're always going home, electric car might not be the best bet. If you need to get there fast and then get back fast, that might not be a good use case for you. And so people started complaining about electric cars for various reasons. Oh, it needs to last long, the charge needs to last longer, blah 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 blah. Well, maybe that solution is not for you. Maybe you just need to find an economical car that gets good gas mileage and drive that. I mean, the whole point I'm getting at here is that FOMO can produce purchases for business because other people found use for that thing. As a business owner, these are things that we play into, right? If everybody and their mama is getting a let's say let's talk about my business, okay? If everybody and their mama want a website, then other people are going to feel like, oh, well, I need a website too, right? But if this person got a website because they're starting their own business, at their own home-based business, and they need a website to be able to let people know that their business and what they do and images and all that kind of stuff, they have a use case for getting a website, right? And they wanted to be able to control the format of it, the look of it. They wanted to be custom and all of that kind of stuff. So they get a website. Somebody else sees that they got a website and see other people getting websites, and they're like, you know what? I need a website too. And so they call me and they say, hey, I want to get a website. Okay, cool, no problem. What's your business? Or what things are you trying to get to put on a website? What do you do? These are questions that you start asking. And when you ask them these questions, they're like, well, I mean, I just know I need to get a website. A website for what? They're like, well, I'm thinking about starting a business, and so I want to get a website so that way once I start it, then I'm ready to, do the put the stuff on there and all that kind of stuff. So what they're wanting is for a website to be their business, but they have no idea of what the website is gonna contain or what the website is there to promote, because a website by nature is there to give people information or allow them to do something, um, um, in the form of a transaction, in the form of giving data, in the form of providing data, to another party that you don't have to necessarily talk to them. A lot of times people see it as the face of their company, right? Because it's the first thing that most people interact with before they actually either talk to someone or um, experience their product, right? They may go on the website, look at it, or they're looking up something, they find their website, they're like, oh, here's something that solves a problem for me. I want to go ahead and get that. But if you don't have a reason for a website. You have no company. You have no idea of some information that you want to deliver, right? You have no real point for your website. What's the point in getting one? Because now you're spending money, and that then you're mad when it doesn't provide some sort of ROI for for yourself, for income, because you think that you're going to get a website and now you're going to make $1 billion. And so you start spending all this money, because websites ain't cheap if you got them custom, right? If you got them custom where you're having somebody else do the work for you, they're not cheap. But the problem is that you're banking on the fact that that website is going to now make you billions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? It's going to make you billions of dollars. And it could if you had a point. It could if you had a reason. It could if you were selling something. It could if you had a service that you were trying to get clients to be able to fill out a form so you can contact them or something like that. Like, there's a reason for having a website. But if you don't have a reason for having a website and you expecting that this website is supposed to make you money, there's no point. There's no point. There's no reason. There's no I, I see no, it only causes the client frustration, right? Now, if you go ahead and build this person one, you figured out something that they said, and you're like, you know what? I can come up with something for you, you know, boom, boom, boom. It's going to be all these thousands of dollars. And that person like, you know what? Yep, because I should get a return on investment, because they're banking on they're banking on the return. And they're like, you know, boom. Okay, so they spend these thousands of dollars to get this website built. Now they're mad at you, right? Why are they mad at you? They're mad at you because the website ain't making money. But just because you built a website don't mean you're gonna go market it for them. Just because you built a website doesn't make that website now a business, right? It doesn't. What it does is it gives you a portal to the world for them to look at things that you want to put on there. Sometimes people may just put websites on there as like their resume. Has all of the stuff that they've done. It might have their, you know, picture. It might have some information there that, you know, of work, right? It might have a portfolio of work, whether it be photography, whether it be videos, whether it be, you know, text content, if they're a writer, stuff like that. And that's fine. If those are the things that you do and you want to use it for a portfolio or something like that, there's a reason for that. But just because you have that there, it doesn't mean you're going to get a bunch of people wanting to do business with you. And these are some of the frustrations that you deal with when you're the business owner and you're the one that's creating this stuff. Because, like I said, now they're mad at you. They're mad at you because it's not making the money. And so, whenever I create a website for a client, I try to have this type of conversation with them, because I want them to understand that the website is not your business. The business is the things you do to solve problems for people. That's your business. That's the thing that you're creating that is the true business. If you want a website built that does solve a problem, again, giving them some sort of information, helping them to see the world in a different way. Like, these are okay, that's a reason to have a website. But if you just want a website because everybody has it, or a lot of people you know have websites, that's not a reason to get a website. Because again, it's going to cost you so much it's going to cause you so much frustration, and it's going to take longer than you probably expect. You think you're going to throw it up and be up in a day or two. You're like, okay. And so that website ends up taking you 6 months to build, because one, you don't know what you want. Two, you keep going back and forth on the designs and, you know, the information and all of this stuff. So now you just spent money. You're not getting a return on investment. It's not even finished yet. And now you're mad at the builder. And that's just one form. That's just one aspect of my company. right? And these are the things that we deal with as business owners. If you're a business owner out there and you are um, um, dealing with these issues, they're the same, just a little bit different, right? Same but different. There are varying degrees of difference depending on the business in which you run. Because let's say you own a restaurant, right? Um, it's still stressful as a restaurant. You're dealing with people when they're hungry. That's a challenge, right? Dealing with people when they're hungry, that's a challenge. Why is that a challenge? That's a challenge because anybody who's hungry ends up starting to have like an attitude. And it's almost, you can't get around it. Like it, because that's one thing that everybody needs: food. I talked about on previous podcast, in the form of SH TF, right? Um, when that happens, then one of the second most important thing is food, right? Water, food. You know what I'm saying? Water, food. Food is very important. And so when people don't have it and they're trying to get it, they become frustrated when they come to your business and they're trying to find a seat, or they can't, or they have to wait in line, or, you know, somebody skips them in line, things like that. It's free for all. It's fair game to get pissed, right? As a business owner, though, you're trying to manage that space. You're trying to make sure that everybody's getting served, everybody's staying in queue, and when they get their table, that their food, they can order quickly, they can, you know what I mean? All of these things happen, um, and you have to deal with that as a business owner. But a business owner not only deals with that, right? So if, again, as a restaurant owner, you're gonna go and you're gonna deal with all of this stuff in the restaurant, right? Everybody got their seats, everybody's, getting their food, everybody is paying, leaving. Well, that's only one aspect of owning a restaurant as a business owner. You now have to deal with employees, you got to deal with paperwork, you got to deal with bank, you got to deal with all the accounting stuff, you have to deal with like taxes, you have to deal with insurance, you have to deal with like the other businesses that are giving your business service. So how are you getting your inventory? How are you paying for your cleaning supplies? Do you have another cleaning crew, or, that comes in every night, or like all of these things? There's so many things to deal with. And if you're doing it by yourself, meaning you're the sole business owner, you're doing everything. You got all the hats. You got all the hats and you got all the stress. These are the things that as a business owner, you have to deal with. And the thing is, it's not even crying about it or anything like that. It's just reality. You know what I'm saying? It's just reality. And it can piss you off. It can piss you off because it seems like it never stops, right? It seems like it never stops. So how do we deal with that, right? How do we deal with that? If you are trying to run a successful business, but yet all the frustration, you don't see any reprieve, right? You don't see any reprieve because it's an ongoing thing. It's constant. It never stops. What do you do? Well, I can't necessarily tell you what you should do. I can tell you some of the things that I've done. And sometimes it wasn't, it didn't do what I thought it would do. So, one of the things that I've done is I kind of went into a mode of, um, I guess you can call it depression, right? even though I'm a very excited individual, I'm a person that is always optimistic. Um, there became a time where I was really like frustrated, really frustrated. Didn't know what to do. Didn't know what, you know, um, what I was going to be able to do. How was I going to be able to turn this around? Right? I didn't know what to do. And it was very interesting because it was the first time I ever had that feeling, of being so frustrated that it just made me depressed because I didn't see an out. I didn't see an out to all the money I owed, for like taxes and things like that. I didn't see an out to um and trust me, I always pay my taxes. Um, but I didn't see an out to what I was going to have to do to continue to get more clients. I didn't see an out to being able to keep up with the oncoming onslaught of bills that kept piling up and didn't pile up. I was paying them, so I was at board, but the fact was it just kept coming, and I never had the time where I could be like, okay, I feel good, got a couple, got some thousands, you know, 5 figures or so in the bank, and I'm kind of, I'm able to really think without being um um on the edge. You know what I'm saying? Basically, I'm not thinking under duress. I'm thinking very clearly. It was hard to get there. I didn't know didn't know how I would get to that. You know what I'm saying? And so what I what I had to do was find a new plan. How and it took me some time. It took me some time. It wasn't like and I probably even thought of the plan almost immediately, but the fact was I couldn't see out of my frame. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're in the frame, it's hard to see the picture. And so it took me way longer than I needed to get out of that mindset of I don't know what to do. So I still what I did first was and this is where talking to myself escalated and it ended up getting me out of my situation. And that's the reason why I say I can sit here and I can work and still talk through things and I'm always talking anyway to get to solve problems in my head or whatever, or figure out what I'm going to do. So this is where it really escalated because I was able to have these conversations with myself and say things like, you know what I could do is do this, 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 and this, right? What if I do this, 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 and this? A lot of times the solve for the problems that I found is as I'm talking to somebody, right? And so like even right now, me talking to you, I don't talk to people just to talk to them. Let me tell you what to do. This is for you, this is for you, this is for you. A lot of times when I'm saying these things, they're honestly for me too. You know what I'm saying? I find out that it's for me too. It's just in a different way, right? And so in having these conversations, what I realized was um I'm looking at this wrong. I'm looking for clients, right? I'm looking for clients, but is the business model I have sustainable? Right? I just really started to drill into my own head and my own company structure and figure out, well, is this even a successful model? Right? And then if I've realized that, I mean, it can be, but what would it look like if I changed it? What would it take to change it to what I feel like would be more productive, a lot less stressful, still solve the problems that I see people have when it comes to the things that I do. Um, what would that look like? And is there a way that I can make it or bring in recurring revenue? Not necessarily always from the same people, but maybe from some additional people playing off the FOMO, playing off the the excitement of a change, right? A lot of people like change. A lot of when I say like change, I'm not saying they like change in their own life. They like to see things grow. They like to see things change. They like to see things constantly evolving, and they pay attention to it. Okay? Now, the evolution of me changing my business model took some time because you still have legacy clients that are dealing with the product in the way, or the product or the service in the way that it was, and you're trying to move it over to a new way that you're going to do business. And so there's a overlap, there's a migration period, where a transition period, if you will, from this model to that model. That's stressful again, because now you're running two different models of your business, and you have to try to maneuver everyone over to the new model. um and that can be hard. That can be hard because you may end up losing some clients because they may not like what the new model is, because they're used to the old model. Because like I said, a lot of people don't like change in their life. They want to see change, they want people to change, but they don't want to change. They don't want anything that's going to change the way that they're doing, because they're already planning their life out based on what it was already set up to be. And so that can end up making for a stressful situation. So with that, it's the transition of the business, right? It's the transition of the business that is where you end up trying to balance and combat the feeling of, oh, all of this is about to fall apart. That's kind of how you feel. Everything is bad. But you can't say that, right? Because you get what you speak. So you got to keep it up. You got to say, yo, everything is good. We about to get this. This transition is going well, but reality says, still watch what's happening. Is it actually taking your business up? But in transition, a lot of times you got to go down to come back up. Woo! I don't know if y'all, I don't think you heard me on that. I don't think you heard me, because that's been true in my life, even when I had jobs, even when I owned businesses. Anytime I'm in transition, I end up going down, making less money, losing some clients, all kind of stuff before I come back up. Sometimes it's fast. Sometimes I lose a client, then I get two. Sometimes I lose two clients, and then I get five. Just thinking about the times that it's happened. It like but it's a constant grow, right? Boom, 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 boom. Like it goes up like that, ebbs and flows. But the point is as you're transitioning from this form of business, from this model, from this business model to this business model, one, there's time in between there, right? There's a time that it might take. That time can be compressed if you plan very well. If you plan very well and you really think about what pieces have to be transitioned for it to work, what pieces do you have to drop off? And so you might make that transition um, start sooner than you're really ready for it. Meaning, I know I don't want to do this part of my business anymore, right? So then you dissolve those. The clients that you have that are doing that thing, if you're going to have something that's similar but different, I don't want to do that, but I'm going to do this phase of that, then transition them over early. Start with those people. Start with the people who you know you're going to drop that service. Start with those and say, hey, we're not going to be providing this service after so and so date. We have a new service that handles majority of this, but this part we're not going to be doing. Would you like to change over to the new one? And I can also give you some resources that can handle the other part that I'm no longer doing. Right? And then if you're really good and you don't want to handle that, maybe you can partner with another company that does that other part, and you can end up getting kickback, or you can end up getting some sort of a referral fee or something like that. So that way you don't necessarily lose out on all your revenue, but you do recoup something, right? That's another way. So um so that's where we are. We're talking about the frustrations and the stress that you deal with owning a business. And right now we're in the section of transition from one business model to the next. Okay. Give me 1 second. All right. So back to what we were talking about. We were on transition. We were talking about transition and the fact that transition um is a stressful time within owning your own business. And yes, it is one of the most stressful times owning your own business. Is going through transition. And so, um, as I stated previously before the break, when you transition, you're transitioning to get yourself and your business in a better place. Sometimes sometimes the business may be doing well. Let's just say that. We're still talking transition, we're still talking business ownership, we're still talking frustrations. Sometimes when you transition, it's not because the business is doing bad. Sometimes you're transitioning because the stress of the business is so frustrating to you that you need to change this. You need to change this business. If I am going to explode if I keep doing business this way. That may be a reason why you need to transition your business from one form of business, one style of business to another style of business, one business model to another business model. It's all because this is stressing me out. I'm making a lot of money, but it's stressing me out. I gotta change. So In that, it's like, well, that's a good reason. That's a good reason to transition that business for mental health, emotional health, for physical well-being, and you want to be the best version of yourself. That's why we're here. We're here talking about that because you want to be the best version of yourself. And to do that, you may have to change your business model. No cap. So in transitioning because of physical, emotional, mental well-being, sometimes it may mean that you have to find someone else and create a new business. Okay, let me explain. If you have a business that's doing well, making a lot of money, you can look at, well, what are the parts that are making you the most money, that are the least stressful for you as the business owner? What parts of the business are the least I was gonna say successful, but no, we're talking about the least stressful, but makes a lot of money, or considerable amount of the revenue that comes in for the business on a whole. Okay, take those, write them down, and keep them. Right, get your pen, boom, get your paper, boom, and write them down. What are the things that are the least stressful in my business? What are the things that make me, or that bring in really good revenue? Right? Write them down. Now that we wrote those down, now we look at, well, which things match, right? Which things that are stressful, or excuse me, the least stressful, and which things that produce revenue, do they match? Right? Do they match? If you have some matches, then keep those things, right? Keep those things. Anything else that either doesn't produce good revenue or is very stressful, are there ways that we can get rid of those? Now, as a restaurant, you might not have a way to get rid of them. You may just have to hire someone that's able to take care of the things that are the most stressful. Hire someone else to handle those who is good at that. So if accounting is not your thing, right? If bookkeeping is not your thing, it stresses you out, you get anxiety before it's time to go do the books or whatever, hire someone, hire a firm, let them handle that, right? Because in this conversation right now, we're talking about a business that is making pretty good money. Okay. So that means that you're not stressed because you're not making money with the business. The business is making money. You're just stressed because of all the things that have to go on, and you're trying to reduce your stress level and be able to maintain this company for a while, for a long time, forever if possible. Right. So what do you have to do? Hire someone to take care of those stressful things. Right. When I was in college, I read a book, and actually, it wasn't because I wanted to read it. It was because they required it for what I went to college for, right? For web development. When when you um the name of the book, I don't remember who wrote it, but the name of the book was called Automate the Boring Stuff. The book was about Python, right? Python is a coding language. The book was about Python. But the point of the book, right? To automate the boring stuff, was a huge um, concept to me that made me feel like, oh, shoot, that's like mind blowing. Automate the boring stuff. So, what is the boring stuff? The boring stuff is things that are repetitive, things that are um, frustrating, things that have to be done all the time. There's no fun in it, no creativity in it, you know, no problem solving really. It's just stuff that has to get done. So how do you automate that? Either you can create a system, right? A digital system, some computerized system that handles that if possible. If not, then you have to hire somebody who loves to do that thing, right? So, like I said, if it's, let's just say it's accounting or bookkeeping, if that's not what you're good at or that's not what you like to do, that's very stressful for you, hire somebody to do it or implement a new way of dealing with payments and stuff like that. That way you don't have to necessarily do it. The system that you've created does it itself. All right. Now let me give you an example of that. Because me as a business owner, I don't necessarily like to do books and taxes and all that kind of stuff. I don't like that. Um, However, I do want to know what's going on in my business. I do want to know, where my money's going and all that kind of stuff, right? So what did I do? I had to get a system that I could plug in my business to. Now, this was in one of the earlier transition periods that I had in my business. I had to get a system that dealt with invoicing, dealt with getting payments, created, you know, um, it sent out notifications and all of that kind of stuff. So I didn't have to do that. The system I set in place already did it. If an invoice goes out, it goes out automatically on the dates that I say that it's supposed to go out or that I plugged in, right? And so when that invoice goes out, it goes to the customer. It'll let me know when the customer opened it. It'll let me know when the customer paid it. They can pay it through the invoice itself, right? No extra systems. Once it pays, it comes back into my system and it keeps the information, right? So now I already know it got paid. I know what dates, I know how much they paid on it and all that kind of stuff. And then if they don't pay it, right, the day that it comes out or whatever days that I say it has, grace period, if they don't pay it, then it'll send out notifications 3 days, 7 days, 14 days. Like it'll already send out notifications. Hey, your bill's still due. Hey, we didn't get your payment yet. Hey, your system is about to be cut off because we got non-payment. You have X amount of time before the system will cut off. The day it's going to cut off, it'll send you another one, right? And then I can also take that same logic, tie it to another system, right? That when that payment is not received by X date, it ends up cutting off their server or cutting off their website or cutting off their whatever, right? Or it might even stop the subscription or whatever, right? But all of that is automated. And so now when I get a new client, we build the stuff or we develop the stuff or whatever we're doing, that onboarding process means a lot because it's the understanding of how the onboarding goes and what all goes into it and having that set up correctly that once it's set up throughout the lifespan of dealing with that client, it's going to keep on going. I don't have to do anything else. It's just going to keep going by itself. When they pay, it'll update the system. The system will then release the service back on for them or whatever. Totally automated, right? Totally automated. That was a way that I had to transition to. I had to transition to that because it was stressful to try to keep up people payments. Figure out, okay, hey, you're gonna pay Apple Pay, Apple Cash. You got Google Pay. You got credit cards. You got bank accounts. You got Zelle. You got all of these payment methods, PayPal. Cash App. All of this stuff. Now I take payments this way, right? I set a standard, and that's the standard in which my business operates. If you're going to do business with us, then everything flows this way, right? It's not haphazard, it's planned success, it's planned strategy to take the weight off of me so I can actually do good business and I can do the business that I want to do because my business is not bookkeeping, my business is not accounting, my business is not, chasing payments. My business is not any of that. My business is to create designs, is to create and develop websites, is to do music, is to do video. That's my business. My business is not bookkeeping. My business is not chasing people's money. That's not my business, right? That's not what I do. And so setting up a system in place allows me to not have to do the things that I don't want to do. I'm automating the boring stuff. And so I can do my business, the thing that I'm good at. Make sense? So if that, if you've created the system that way, then you can do it for other things too. I didn't have to just do it for only the bookkeeping aspect. There's other things that I can set up a new system for. That new system that I set up may look different, right? And so it might not be a digital system, but it might be a person system, right? If I do this part of this client service, I already have the standard operating procedure set that once I do this part, then I send the project over to this person handles that part. It comes back, I send it over to that person. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times the way the system worked was it could skip me at some points in the project. I do my part, send it over to them. They don't now send it back to me after they're finished. They send it on to the next person, right? And so once everything is finished, the whole system runs, it comes back to me and it says, is this good? I'm able to say, no, we need changes here, here, and here. Send it back out, right? And that was done in another system, right? That's a task management system, a project management system. Again, that's setting up systems, putting systems in place so you don't have to keep up with or deal with the things that create stress within your business, right? Because the whole point is to create efficiencies for success, right? If you create efficiencies, then it takes out things that stall your business. It's almost like you're creating an assembly line, right? Like back when Henry Ford built the first assembly line, same thing. Once you have an input, that input goes through this, and you get this output, and it should be consistently to a certain level, right? It should be consistently to a certain level because the system was set up that it's like that. That's also allows you to figure out, well, where's the breakdown? If something's not, if you put in an input and it comes out a different way, then you can figure out, well, which part is wrong and find out within that system where your problem is, right? Once you hone into where your problem is, because it comes out consistently wrong, right? When you put this input in, it comes out consistently wrong. Then that means that somewhere within that process, there's a breakdown. If I fix that breakdown, now I should get a different output. That output should be more in line with what I'm looking for. If it's still not, figure out where the next breakdown is, right? This is how I develop applications the same way, right? Because once you got something working, once you create code and that code is supposed to do a thing, whether it be a function, right? Like every function is supposed to do one thing, right? So if I have a function that creates a heart, that's the only thing that function does, okay? If I have another function that creates a circle, that's the only thing that function does. It's a circle function, right? If I have another function that creates a square, that's all that function does, create a square. So if every input I say make shapes, right? That's the input, make shapes. On the outside, I should get a circle, a square, and a heart. If the heart doesn't show up, then the heart function has a problem. The circle and the square function should be good to go, right? The heart function has a problem. This is what a system looks like. Every piece in the chain should only have one function. If it has multiple functions, it's hard for you to always get consistent output. So this lowers the amount of stress that you deal with any given day because you're not chasing which part messed up. You already know because every piece only does one thing. All right. So if I have a company that has, let's say 100 employees. Now, the difference on having 100 employees and having, let's say, 5 employees is if you have 100 employees, you may have 2 or 3 people who do the same job, right? But you only have one department that does a function, right? So if I have a if I have a department that the only thing they work on is setting up servers, right? I have a server department. 3 people in that department are the server administrators. Then at least I can narrow it down if the servers aren't working to those 3 people. They should be the ones that can have the answer to why the server is not working right now, right? Now, in those 3 people that are in the server department, each one of those 3 people may have a different piece of keeping servers up. One of those people might deal with the networking on the server. One of those people might deal with, the implementation or updates, if you will, on the server. And one might be the setup artist, the person that sets up all the architecture for the servers. Okay. If it's a networking problem, we can't reach the servers. First person I'm going to in the server department is the networking person. Hey, what's going on, networking person? I'm not able to communicate with the other systems, aren't communicating with the server. What's going on? Might be like, well, I showed that my networking is all up. Everything is online. Okay, cool. Next person I go to is not going to be the update person. It's going to be the architecture person, right? So if I go to the architecture person, I'm like, hey, Mr. Architect, why aren't the servers up? Well, the servers have been up. When did they go down? Well, you should know that. Well, I don't. What's the last thing that happened? I think there was an update. Was there? Did they communicate with you about the update? Yeah. Did you approve the update? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go talk to the update person. We go head over to the update person on the server, and they say, yeah, I just ran that patch for the server, about 30 minutes ago. Oh, 30 minutes ago? That's when I couldn't get the servers. So now we've narrowed down what happened. We narrowed down who did it. We narrowed down, you see what I'm saying? All out of just having the conversations because this department does one function, which is work on servers. Each one of those people do one thing within that server department. So that way we can narrow down what happened, who did it, when it happened, because only one person works on one thing. If you have 5 people in a business and each one of those people in the business run multiple things, so you might still have a server person, but it's only one. That person's handling all things on the server. Now, when I go to the server department and I'm like, hey, Mr. Server Man, right? Because he runs all the stuff on the servers. Mr. Server Man, what's going on? And he has to figure out, well, is it because I was working on the networking? Is it because I was working on when did you get it? When did you not, and then you start, who did it. Yes, but you don't know what they did. And they probably can't even tell you what they did. Hopefully they can if they're tracking it. But a lot of times when you have a smaller business, one person is wearing multiple hats. Nature of small business, right? And so in that, you have to create a system that keeps records, right? I'm not saying it's bad that one person has to do multiple things, but their function should be as narrow scope as you can get it, right? Because the server guy in this scenario is only working on servers. He can't be working on servers and this and that and this and that. He's working on servers. That's why I got 5 people, because I realized in my company I needed somebody to only deal with the servers, right? And so now if I have a server issue, I can go to the server person. In the server person, we've already thought about the system of if something changes on the server, then it goes into a log somewhere. It goes somewhere that we can figure out what's the last things that happened to it. So that way we know how to bring it back up, right? And keep it from going down again. It's all about creating systems that help you be successful, creating systems that automate the boring stuff, creating systems that help you to get over any of the challenges, lower your stress level, lower your mental strain, and try to make it easier for you to do the part that you do, which one should be getting new clients. If you're not a person that gets new clients, that likes to talk to people, but you are the one that came up with this business, that came up with this idea that solves this problem, then that means that you have to hire somebody else to go talk to people. Somebody else that likes to talk to people, somebody else that likes to, deal with people, hire them. Go deal with those people. We need more clients. I can go to them. Hey, where we at? We need 5 more clients this week. You know, boom, boom, boom. I need you to average at a new client a day. That's your goal. That's the only thing you're working on is getting new clients. We need a new one every day. Hire somebody to do that, right? Because again, it's automate the boring stuff. It's automate the things that you don't like to do for your business to still be successful. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you create a successful business and stay your behind out of the stress. So I think we talked about a lot, y'all. I mean we hit on a lot of things when it comes to, the stresses that can keep you from being successful in your business, right? As a business owner, these are some of the things that you have to deal with, right? And then I've given you some ways that you can get around those stresses by automating the boring stuff, by figuring out ways to either you have to hire somebody, either you have to create a new system, either you have to transition, right, your company. Because the whole point is you can't run a business if you can't survive, if you can't stay mentally strong, if you can't stay emotionally, competent, right? If you're all over the place with your emotions, all over the place with your mental health, all over the place, with your family life, even that, because we talked about it before, take some of these business processes and put it into the family structure because you may have to automate some things at home for your home life to be successful. And it looks the same, just a slightly different. It's the same thought process, the same theory, the same way you look at it and try to figure out how to automate the boring stuff, the stuff you don't like doing. Put something in place for that, right? So you can do the things that you like, which is more than likely loving on your person, right? Providing love and care for the people in your family. That should be more so having that relationship with them should be more so the point of your automating majority of everything else, creating systems so the only thing you really have to worry about is the connection. So with that, I think we covered enough for today. I'm gonna get back to working because I have deadlines and I'm always trying to work on stuff to keep stuff moving. Um, yeah, but know that I'm with you. When we say that owning a business is is owning a business is stressful, I agree. It is. But you know what? Just like me, you're built for this. If you chose to own a business, you're built for it. Take your time as soon as you can. As soon as you can. Take your time. Figure out some things that are boring to you, things that you don't like to do in your business. Resolve those things first. Whatever those things are, And wherever that journey takes you, resolve those things first. The things you don't like to do, the things you don't want to do, the things that aren't making you money, resolve those. Figure out what's the best way in your mind to resolve those. Because if you resolve those, now you're free. You're free from the stress, free from the things you don't want to do. And now you can take your mind and put them into the focus of the direction that you really want to go. That is your takeaway from this right here. That's your next step. That's the thing that I'm asking you to go ahead and do right now. Take some time today or tonight, whenever you see this video, and do that. Figure out what are the things that you don't like about your business. What are the things you don't want to do in your business? What are the things that cause you the most stress? What are the things that are the headaches? What are the things that aren't making you money? Figure out how to fix those first. Once you do that, now you can be light on your feet. You can be free in your mind from the stress. Your emotions can be settled, and you can be the best version of yourself to go and push in the things that you do want to do. Be great in those things, and that way you can see real success in your life because you're not feeling overwhelmed. You're not feeling anxious, just to do the thing that you chose to do, which is your own company, which I'm going to applaud you today for it. Because to make that transition is huge. To be a business owner is great. It's a great aspiration. It's a great thing. But now you just have to do the work. Let's settle down. Let's figure out the way we can overcome all of those things we don't want to do, the things that ain't making us no money or causing us stress, and get to the things that are going to put us in a better position in our life. All right. So with that, you know who it is. You know who it be. It's the Real Rich Bees. Always here to try to make sure that you're going to live the best version of your life, because I'm trying to live it too. It's always something to obtain, something to strive for, something to reach for. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure you follow, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch, follow on TikTok. I'll see you next time. It's the Real Rich Bees. We out.
Da 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 da.